Good morning, ma'am.
हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग। करते हैं शुरू।
मैम 2 मिनट दीजिए।
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं, इट्स ओके।
हाँ जी। हेलो, हाँ जी मैम, करते हैं स्टार्ट।
Okay. Good morning to all of you. As you all have been informed that today Dr. Balchot ma'am will deliver a lecture on topic infertility. In this topic, ma'am will elaborate the Ayurvedic portion of the infertility. Now I request respected ma'am to start.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I thank Lord Dhanvantri for giving me this opportunity to share the Ayurvedic aspects of infertility. I also thank Principal Sir Dr. Sridev and Dr. Kavita and Dr. Pooja for giving me this opportunity. Uh, I'll start with the presentation. So today we will be discussing about uh, Vandhyatva or infertility according to Ayurveda. So first of all, we have to understand that Vandhyatva is a condition which occurs as a complication of various disorders or diseases. So infertility as such is not a disease. It's a manifestation or it is an indication that some problem is going on in the body, and we have to, when we treat that, fertility occurs. So Vandhyatva, according to Ayurveda, is a condition where a woman does not have a live child, as compared to contemporary medicine, where infertility is defined as failure to conceive within 1 or more years of regular unprotected coitus. So this is the main difference in Ayurveda. They consider as a live child for fertility, and in modern science they consider that failure to conceive. Importance of Stri. Strihi moolam apatyanam, Strihi rakshati rakshitaha. Woman indeed is the source of human progeny. When protected, she protects the progeny. So her health is of utmost importance. Classification of Vandhyatva. Now, according to Acharya Charak, it is of 3 types: Vandhya, Apraja, and Sapraja. Vandhya, it is congenital, also called as absolute sterility. Apraja, Vandhyatva or infertility, in which woman conceives after treatment. It is also considered as primary infertility. And Sapraja it is a condition in which a woman during her active reproductive age does not conceive after giving birth to 1 or more children, also considered as secondary infertility. So primary infertility and secondary infertility definition given in contemporary medicine is the same as in the given in the Ayurveda. Then according to Acharya Harith, it is of 5 types: Kakvandhya, that is secondary infertility; Anapatya, primary infertility; Garbhasravi, repeated abortions; Mritvatsa, repeated stillbirths; Balakshaya, loss of strength or altered immunity. So in later slides, we will discuss that the immunity also plays a major role in the steroidogenesis also. Then Acharya Harith have mentioned Garbha Kosh Bhang, that is the injury to or prolapse of uterus. That is also one of the causes of infertility. Then Acharya Kashyap has described various Jataharinis. They are 35 in number, and they have not given as any separate mention about infertility. They have mentioned Jatharini, and the main Jatharinis are Shushkarevati, which can be correlated with the delayed menarche due to nutritional disorders, Katambhara, primary amenorrhea due to nutritional deficiency without influencing the longevity, Pushpagni, and ovular menstruation associated with hirsutism. This is one of the factors of PCOD. Vikuta, irregular menstrual cycle. Parisruta, excessive vaginal discharges, that is leukorrhea. Then Andagni, early abortion. Durdhara, abortion during first trimester. Kalratri, premature delivery with death of neonate. Mohini, abortion due to maternal factors. Stambini, absence of quickening. Kroshna, it implies that disorders of pregnancy. Then Nakini, repeated stillbirths. Now, first out, we should know how fertility occurs, how conception occurs. So factors essential for conception. Here I will be citing two instances. One is given by Acharya Sushrut, Dhruvam Chaturnam Sanidhyat, Garbha Syad Vidhi Purvinam, Ritu Kshetra Ambu Bijanam, Samagryad Ankuro Yatha. So they have correlated with the crop, how a crop develops. So for that we need Ritu, Kshetra, Ambu, and Bij. Similarly, in a female or in a couple, we need Ritu, that is endometrial and ovarian cycle. Kshetra, it is the healthy genital organs. Ambu is the nutrition and hormones, and Bij is the ovum and sperm. And here Acharya Dallan has specifically elaborated Ambu Punah Ahar Pakajo Vyapi Ras Dhatu. So Ahar Ras is the predominant factor. What kind of ahar you are taking is going to affect all the dhatus and ultimately the Shukra Dhatu. Then in Ashtang Hriday, it is said Shuddhe Garbhashaya Marge Rakte Shukre Anile Hridi Viryavantam Sutam Sute. So here they have mentioned about Garbhashaya, that is the genital organs. Garbhashaya here, here it is healthy uterus. Marge, Prakrit Apatya Marg. Rakte is menstrual cycle and ovum. Shukre is healthy sperm. Anile, proper functioning of the vata. And Hridi is normal psychological status. So this is also very important aspect, the healthy normal psychological status, because stress leads to infertility, infertility leads to stress. So when stress, and in most of the cases when stress is handled properly, conception occurs. Then factors responsible for failure of fertility. Yoni pradoshan manaso abhitapat shukra asrika ahar vihar doshat akalyokat bal sankshayat cha garbhat chirat vindati sapraja api. So here what are the factors which lead to infertility? Yoni dosh, mansik abhitap, shukra dosh, asrik dosh, ahar dosh, vihar dosh, akal yog, bal sankshay. And other factors are Garbhakosh Bhang and Jatharini. So for the next slides, we will be elaborating on all these factors. So Yoni Dosh. Here Yoni refers to the Trayavarta Yoni, that is the entire genital organs. So Trayavarta Yoni includes Prathamavart, Dvitiya Tritiyavart. In Prathamavart, it is Bhag and Bahya Apatyapat Mukh. That is the external genital organs. Then Dvitiya Avat is Abhyantara Pathmukh, Garbha Chhidra, that is Garbhashay Mukh. Abhyantara Pathmukh, vagina and the cervix. And the Tritiya Avat is Garbhashaya, Bijvahini, Bijashay and Abhyantar Shroni. So Garbhashaya is uterus, Bijvahini is fallopian tubes, Bijashay is ovary, and Abhyantar Shroni is the pelvic region. Or then diseases affecting the reproductive organs. Here I will be summarizing like organ-wise. So in the Dvitiya Avart, it is the Abhyantara Pathyapath Mukh, that is a vagina. So Acharana Yoni Vyapad, Aticharana Yoni Vyapad, Pracharana Yoni Vyapad, Petaki Yoni Vyapad, Shleshmala Yoni Vyapad, Uppluta Yoni Vyapad, Shushka Yoni Vyapad, and Falini Yoni Vyapad. They can all be seen in the vagina. They manifest in the vagina. Then Garbha Chhidra or Garbhashay Mukh, mainly Karnini Yoni Vyapad, which can be correlated with cervical erosion, Suchi Mukh Yoni Vyapad, pinhole walls. Then in Tritiya Avart is Garbhashaya or uterus. Here mainly Udavartini Yoni Vyapad, Antarmukhi Yoni Vyapad, Mahayoni. Udavartini Yoni Vyapad can be correlated with dysmenorrhea, or it is one of the factors in endometriosis. Antarmukhi Yoni Vyapad, retroverted uterus, Mahayoni is the prolapse of the uterus, possidentia. Then Bijvahini, fallopian tube, it is the tubal blockage, hydrosalpinx, hematosalpinx. Then Bijashay or ovary. So PCOS or PCOD, bulky ovaries, hypoplastic ovaries, follicular or ovarian cyst, these all occur in ovary. Then Abhyantar Shroni or the pelvic region, mainly pelvic inflammatory disease, that is PID, adhesions, adnexal cyst. Now, Mansik Abhitap or the mental factors. Now, this is the disturbance in psychological harmony. Now, how stress affects the hormones. Now, stress, it affects the hypothalamus, leads to release of corticotrophin releasing factor. It inhibits release of gonadotropin releasing hormones, leading to hypothalamic amenorrhea or hypothalamic anovulation, or the disturbed menstrual cycle. Then Shukra dosh. So this Shukra dosh and the Asrik dosh are very important. So I will be focusing more on these two factors. So here Shukra dosh does not mean the sperm factor only. So Shukra has the dual nature. It is said to be in the as a Bijrupa Shukra and the Sarva Sharirgata Shukra. So Bijrupa Shukra is sperm. A part of Shukra is which is doing the function of Bij. Now Sarva Sharirgata Shukra is can be represented as reproductive hormones, a part of Shukra pervading all over the body. So, and Gandnath Singh ji has described it as Antah Shukra and Bahi Shukra. Now, what do you mean by Sarva Sharirgat Shukra? Now, Shukra Dhatu is situated in the whole body. Though explicit only after 16 years of age, it is present from childhood. Yatha Mukula Pushpasya Swagandho na uplabhyate, labhyate tat Vikashat tu tatha Shukram hi dehina. Now, Sarva Sharirgat Shukra is responsible for various biological and psychological functions such as Dehabalam, Preeti, that is affection, Prasannata, contentment, well-nourished body, soft skin, very fertile, nourishment of odors, healthy complexion. Then most of the hormones are present in both males and females in different quantities. So for example, estrogen, though dominant in females, but is an important factor for spermatogenesis in males. Then similarly, testosterone, though dominant in males, but in females, it is important for aromatization of estrogen, which happens in the adipose tissue. So we cannot consider Shukra as only as the male factor or the sperm. It is the steroidogenesis in the body. So here the attributes of Shukra has been mentioned as Devalam, Preeti, Prasannata, well-nourished body, soft skin, very fertile. So whenever the patient comes to you, you just look at the patient. You can see her reactions, her way of talking, You can see the skin. You can see make the difference in the glow in the skin. So when you start the treatment, when you counsel the patient, within a month you can see a huge shift in the patient. Like she will be happy, she will be relaxed. You can feel her skin is becoming healthy. So it is said that the twaksar or the healthy skin represents the healthy ras dhatu. Then asrik dosh. The word asrik, it has varied terminologies, and but mainly we will consider it as ovum, menstrual blood, and reproductive hormones. And most of the mainly terminologies used are artav, raja, and ritu. So here, what do you mean by artav? Now, artha word implies whatever is cyclical. That is said, ritau bhavam artavam. So during ritu, artavam occurs. That is, here Tikakar Hindu has explained that all the processes involved in the pravartamanam are to be considered as artav, which is for the functional aspect. Then raja. It is updhatu of ras dhatu. Ras dhatu has two updhatus, raja and stanya. So Acharya Sushrut illustrates the formation of raj while explaining the details about shonit or rakta dhatu. So poshak ras or ahar ras, that is the essence of food, then reaches the origin of raktavah srotas in yakrit, where it is acted upon by ranjak pit or agni metamorphosis to rakta dhatu. And when a part of this rakta dhatu comes to the uterus, it is termed as raja. So here Acharya Dalhan has explained that rakta which comes out of the uterus during Ritukal is termed as raja. So this is the difference. In the next line we will find the difference. Raja upadhatu can be considered as basal layer of endometrium, which is stable, and it is said that upadhatu is said to be gati vivarjita. It cannot move. So it can be considered as basal layer of endometrium, whereas artav, which accumulates over raja upadhatu, can be considered as functional layer of endometrium. Now, since this is a functional layer of endometrium, it sheds during the menstrual cycle. So pravartamanam word has been used for artav. Then asrik or ritu can be understood as manifestation effect. So here ritu we consider as the whole menstrual cycle. It is the endometrial cycle and ovarian cycle, and simultaneously the follicular phase and the luteal phase. So any disturbance at any level will manifest as menstrual disorders, endometrial hyperplasia, endometriosis, PCOS or PCOD, and ovulation, luteal phase defect, loss of libido, etc. Then other than ras dhatu, rakta dhatu, and shukra dhatu, medo dhatu, asti dhatu, and majja dhatu plays a very significant role in the osteogenesis. Now, why med dhatu? Now, adipose tissue and lipids form the medo dhatu. Now, leptin in adipose tissue gives signal to HPO excess at puberty when appropriate body mass is achieved. So, leptin has a permissive role. When adipose tissue is in the appropriate amount, then leptin will give a signal to hypothalamus to start the menstrual cycle. So, and it is shown that decreased leptin leads to anovulation. Leptin is required for sperm capacitation and sperm motility. So, medo dhatu or the leptin is important in both males and the females. Just a minute. Then increased adipose tissue leads to decreased testosterone and higher estradiol, leading to male infertility, leading to defects in spermatogenesis. So, healthy fat is also very important. Then majja dhatu. Rakta Dhatu, along with the Rasa Dhatu, reaches all the organs of the body, helps in synthesizing their individual Dhatu, and finally reaching Sarakta Medas of Majja Dhatu. So, Majja Dhatu is Sarakta Majja and Arakta Majja. It is also referred as the seat of Vayu and nourishes the Shukra. From infancy to maturity, there is increase in fatty yellow marrow. And in adolescence, the red marrow of long bones is converted to yellow marrow. So students can study in detail about the bone marrow, and uh, it is in different bones, in long bones and the short bones accordingly. At puberty, fatty yellow marrow significantly contributes to extragonadal steroidogenesis, which activates the HPO axis at the time of puberty. So, Majja Dhatu converts to the Shukra Dhatu. So, healthy Majja Dhatu is very important. So, Majja Dhatu, indirectly, it is also a type of Medas, in turn helps in the synthesis of both Shukra and Arta Dhatu, which are essential in sexual organogenesis. So, Ahara Dosha, here I will not be elaborating much because as we know that healthy food is the basic of the healthy life. Here, Acharya here it is mentioned in Ashtanga Sangraha that Ghrita Kshir Nityasu Muditasu Kapatmasu Artavam Tishtati Chiram Viparitastavo Anyathaha. So, consuming grit and milk regularly promotes healthy artav, leading to healthy fertility. So, when we are, if we talk about the food we are consuming, especially I will mention about the oils, that the soya bean oil, the canola oil, they are all inflammatory in action. So, and the uh, what we call the food additives, monosodium glutamate, these all lead to inflammation. So, increase in free radicals decreases the quality and quantity, that is the number of oocytes. So the food you are taking is affecting the health of the oocytes also. So that is why we are seeing large increased number of premature ovarian failure, low AMH. So these are all the manifestation of the lifestyle. And so here I will discuss about the ovulation process, that increased the immune factor is also very important. Okay, I'll discuss this later. Then Vihara Dosh. Then Vihara Dosh, mainly Rajaswala Paricharya, Vegadharan, Dincharya, Ratricharya, Ritucharya, Sadvrit and Swastvrit. These are the major factors which influence the health. So here I will discuss about Rajaswala Paricharya. This is specifically mentioned in Ayurveda only, where during menstruation, what should be the lifestyle. Acharyas have specifically told the female to rest. Rest does not mean that you have to sit on a one place, but she should be relaxed, and physically also she should not be doing much labor work. Okay, so why they have said this? Because the Ritu, the menstrual bleeding time is the function of Vata. So when we cannot take care of Vata will go will get disturbed. So nowadays we are seeing more of the cases of endometriosis, dysmenorrhea. Why they are increasing? Because, and even if you see the ads of sanitary brands, they are saying there is not to worry about the menstrual phase. You can enjoy your life. No, you have to take care of your menstrual time, because then it will disturb the vata and lead to various problems. Then Vegdharan will also initiate the Vata. Dincharya, Ratricharya, it has been described in detail. Ritucharya is the seasonal uh, regimen. Then Sadvrit and Swasthvrit. Sadvrit is the moral conduct. So studies have shown that the moral conduct, good moral conduct, leads to healthy status. And then Swasthvrita, we all know that. Then here I will discuss stress upon the oral health. This is very important. So it's just not that we are doing the brushing your teeth and it's over. Ayurveda has mentioned Kaval, Gandush, that should be followed. Then I will focus on Nidra. Why sleep is very important. Sleep allows antioxidants to recover and heal the metabolic injuries. It is during sleep only that antioxidants can also rejuvenate themselves. So, and during sleep, melatonin is released from pineal gland. It acts as a free radical scavenger, and due to its hydrophilic and lipophilic properties, it's a very potent free radical scavenger because it can be in the cell and it can be around the cell. So melatonin is seen in follicular fluid before ovulation and can act as antioxidant in ovarian follicular fluid. So when we talk about an ovulation or low AMH or luteal phase defect, so we have to consider all these factors. So melatonin is also one of the important factors because nowadays the young generation, maybe due to studies or those who are working in the call centers or in the night, melatonin is disturbed. And this melatonin, when not functioning properly, it can lead to even cancers. It also inhibits the excess release of estrogen from reproductive tract. So nowadays there is hyperestrogenism. Okay, so whatever the complaints, especially this menstrual disorders or menorrhagia, and then premenstrual syndrome where bloating is there. So it is all due to the imbalance in the estrogen and progesterone. So when we sleep properly, estrogen, rather all the hormones, they function normally and properly. Then Akal Yoga. Now Ritu is one of the factors of Garbhasambhav Samagri. So it is a time period when a seed is sown, and what here seed is the ovum and the sperm is sure to bear fruit. So here, apart from conception, proper ovulation is also very much required. So Akal Yog can lead to premature ovarian failure, anovulation, low AMH. Now here, this AMH is being talked about a lot nowadays. But when we take the female as a whole, when we treat as the female as a whole, even AMH also becomes normal. Because nowadays low AMH and go for IVF. So first I will say that first go for the Ayurvedic proper treatment, and most of the times IVF is not required. So low AMH, it is said that the ovarian reserve is depleting. So there are two things. Okay, the number of oocytes are fixed in a female, but we can improve the quality of the egg, right? So even if the number is less, but if they are healthy, if they are if conception is occurring in within 1 or 2 cycles of treatment, so that is all the more good. Then Bal Sangshay. Here it is we consider as altered immunity, torch infection, recurrent pregnancy loss, anemia, malnutrition, tuberculosis. All these factors will come under Bal Sanchay. So here, altered immunity. So immune cells also play a very significant role, like increased migration of macrophages to the thicker layers of pre-ovulatory follicle. Okay, during the pre-ovulatory pre-ovulation, macrophages are there in the thicker layers of pre-ovulatory follicle. These are revealed to be essential potentiators for ovulation process. So immune cells have a role in complex ovulatory cascade. So proper immune function at the level of ovary, at the level of the follicle is also very important. Depletion of ovarian macrophages decreases the ovulation rate, and ovarian macrophage population, just a minute, when decreased, resulted in decreased ovarian weight, decreased progesterone production, and so it provides a compelling link between ovarian macrophages and female fertility. Then we'll talk about this is torch infection. Now in contemporary medicine, they are not considering torch infection as a factor for infertility, because they say IgG indicates the past infection. Here I would like to emphasize that whenever a patient comes to you with this big file, you just go through the file and keep it aside. You have to treat the patient. What symptoms patient is giving, we have to work on that. Now, I have seen in many torch positive patients, torch IgG positive patients, they give this complaint of altered immunity, allergic reactions, white discharge. And when we work on the immunity aspect, when we work on the torch IgG aspect, patients conceive within 1 month, within 2 months. So whatever modern medicine is saying, what their recommendations change over a period of time, but our science is very firm on the basics. So we have to work on the basics, and when we work on them, we get the results, and patient is also happy and healthy. Then recurrent pregnancy loss, there are it has various factors for it, and when we work on that, we also get good results. Anemia, this is the basic cause of infertility, and 80% of females are anemic. They have less than 10 gram of hemoglobin. When we work on that, so whenever a patient comes to us for the first time, we have all the factors are normal. Even anemia is so see, we have to see the difference here also, that the laboratory parameters and the patient. Okay, so anemia here does not mean just that the HB is low or the red blood cells are less. Here we have to consider as the Rasa Dhatu and the Rakta Dhatu of the patient also. When we give patient the general basic treatment, like for the immunity, you can say patient conceives within 2-3 months, right? Then malnutrition, that Ahar we have discussed. Then tuberculosis is also on the rise. We have to see that factor also. In some females of white discharge, continuous leukorrhea, even if we give medicines, it is not responding. She is not responding. Then we have to go for the test for the tuberculosis. And nowadays it is on rise, and we have seen patients with tuberculosis having the leukorrhea. So when that is treated, leukorrhea also gets treated. So why malnutrition is significant? Because it delays puberty. Loss of weight due to abstinence of food, starvation, excessive exercise, chronic illness leads to catabolic state, which favors formation of 2-hydroxyestrone instead of estradiol. So this estrone inhibits gonadotropins. Moreover, with malnutrition, there is poor availability of estrogen receptors. So where this hormones or the steroidogenesis occurs in the when proper amount of sneha is present in the body. Okay, so nowadays, if you say ask somebody ghee, no, ghee increases the lipids and all that. It's nothing like that. We need good fat for, because even if we go for by the modern parameters, we need cholesterol for the proper functioning of the hormones, right? Now, apart from all these factors, doshas are also very significant. So here we say just Vayu is the main dosha in the female or infertility. Other than Vayu, Saman Vayu, Udan Vayu, Gyan Vayu, Apan Vayu, they are all very important. Now, the function of hypothalamo pituitary ovarian axis are controlled by Pran, Udan, Saman Vayu equilibrium. So, Pran uh, is in the function of hypothalamus, Udan in the pituitary, and Saman Vayu is the Agni Samipastha. So it just kindles all the dhatu agnis. Vyanu maintains normal dhatu gati or the vascularity or the circulation of the hormones. So proper Vyanu is also very important. Apan Vayu, as we all know, controls the Artav Nishkraman, Garbha Nishkraman, Shukra Nishkraman. Pachak Pith helps in maturation and steroidogenesis via Saman Vayu. So all these Vayus and the three doshas should be in harmony, should be in balance. Now, the state of normalcy in three doshas, Ras and other dhatus, Artav, Agni and Artav Vesrotas decides the fertility in females. Now, we cannot treat them as separate entities. We cannot just consider that Vatvigun is there, Ras Dhatu is not functioning properly. No, we have to take them as a whole. They are to be considered as a whole. So it can be called as psycho-neuro-immuno-endocrinology, with center being the hypothalamus. So we cannot say that you just treat the psychological aspect of the patient or the neurological aspect or the and then immunological aspect. No, we have to consider it as a whole. That is Sharir Indriya Sattva Atma Sanyoge Dhari Jivitam Iti Ayu. So life is a conjunction of body, senses, mind, and soul. So here I have not made slides for the treatment aspect. I will just generally I will discuss 2-3 points to give you an idea how to go about it. So first of all, I will talk about this hirsutism. It is on rise, right? So what to consider for hirsutism? So first of all, we have to think what it is indicating, right? If we say Asti Dhatu, the mal of Asti Dhatu is Rom, Nakh, Kesh. Then Majja Dhatu is, if it is altered, it is also the factor for Lom, right? So when hirsutism is there, it is showing that there is some abnormality, functional abnormality in the Majja Dhatu, in the Asti Dhatu. Even Shukra is also said that this Rom, Shamashru, right? So when we take care of Asti, Majja, Shukra, hirsutism improves, it reduces. I have seen in my patients, and here we have to see which ras, which dravya to be given. Like in the Asti Dhatu, it is the Vayu is the predominant entity. So to pacify Vayu, we need Tiktaras, we need Madhuras. Okay. So when we give Tikta Madhur Dravyas, it comes to the balance. Then Vayu, it has Shit Gun, it has Karatva Gun, and when we give Sneha, it will balance that also. Then Majja Dhatu, it is also Sa Sneha. So when we correct the Snehansh or the Sneh aspect of Majja Dhatu, it will function properly. So when Majja Dhatu is functioning properly, Shukra will it will become normal. So say I give you an example. Like if when we give Panchadikta Ghrita in the patient of hirsutism, within 1 month, the area of hirsutism decreases. The hair quality of hair improves. Like they become thin, they become soft, and those who go for waxing or the removal of hair, the duration has increased. That when the new follicles appear, the new hair appear, that duration increases, right? So now in another one more aspect of hirsutism, when we don't have, when all the factors are normal, like all the hormonal analysis are normal, there is no PCOD, then also hirsutism is seen in females. So how you are going to explain that? So modern says that this P450 cytochrome cells are become more receptive. So why they are becoming more receptive? So then we have to think of this Asti Dhatu and the Majja Dhatu. Okay, so when we will correct the dhatus along with the tridoshas, the pathology will be corrected. Then the second example is of, as I said, low AMH. Okay, they are saying the follicle number of oocytes are decreasing, so cycle is the fertility span is decreasing. So here I will say, and there are studies where due to with the Panchkarma treatment, AMH has increased. Okay, so rather than injecting the platelet-rich plasma in the ovaries, modern people are doing this. But what my point is, even if we are giving the plasma-rich platelets, so they have the stem cells and the progenitor cells, but we need that environment. Is ovary receptive to that? So when we correct that environment, things will start functioning properly. Okay, so here low AMH, it is showing that there is a decrease in the snehansh, there is a decrease in kapha, because and then when we work on that, when we give the brihad ghritas or Jivaniya Greta or the Jivaniya Dravyas, AMH increases. Okay, so we can if we say that number of oocytes they are limited and they are going to getting destroyed, but we can increase the quality of the oocyte, right? And then one more is then PCOD also. When we consider it as a whole, we get good results. And but here in PCOD and PCOS, lifestyle of the patient is very important. So our part we can do, but patient's response is also very important in PCOD, PCOS. And okay, then here I will discuss about this adenomyosis and endometriosis. Okay, so now adenomyosis is in the uterus, right? In the muscular layer, myometrium. So why myometrium? And here Harit has described about the Garbhakosh Bhang. So Garbhakosh Bhang does not mean the rupture of the uterus, right? It can be at the micro level. So when myometrium gives way, endometrium starts getting implanted in the myometrium. So what does this implies? Now, Garbhashay is a Mans Dhatu, and when there is weakness in the Mans Dhatu or when Mans Dhatu is not functioning properly, adenomyosis occurs. So rather than working on endometrium, that we have to work on that also, we have to work on the uterus also. When we are making uterus healthy, adenomyosis is not there. So I have in a patient, like even I am surprised, like that patient was had a complaint of adenomyosis, and she was taking Dinogesis 1 year. Then someone referred her to me, and when I started with the Ayurvedic treatment, and she was so worried that I'll have pain, will it get cured or not? I said, you start with the treatment. 1 year you have taken the Dinogest, you just give me 6 months. So I think she started the treatment in August, and in November her uterus is healthy. There is no adenomyosis, right? So when we function, when we work on the proper pathology, proper samprapti vigatan is done, you get results. So we don't see even like when we are not getting results, there are two things. Either we are lacking somewhere, because science is perfect, Ayurveda is perfect, but we are lacking, that we cannot comprehend what acharyas have said. And second, if patient is not compliant, okay. So then similarly with the endometrial hyperplasia, that first we have to rule out it is not in the going towards carcinoma. Otherwise, we can correct it with the medicines. And then nowadays, tubal blockage and hydrosalpinx and hematosalpinx is also on the rise. So for hydrosalpinx also, it is treatable. When we give proper medicine, when we give proper treatment, it is reversed, and fallopian tubes becomes healthy. So here also there is a show in the hydrosalpinx, right? So when we work on that, uh, so like we can give the Triflagoglu, we can give the Chandraprabhavati, Gandhak Rasayan, and the mainly Rakta Prasadan. Okay, Rakta Shodhan and Rakta Prasadan, when we give this hydrosalpinx and hematosalpinx are cured. And tubal blockage, a lot of work is being done with Uttarvasti, and where we are getting wonderful results. Even if one tube becomes patent, it is good enough. Then in hypoplastic ovaries, then also we have to just see all the factors, all the hormonal analysis, and this also can be cured up to quite an extent. Hypoplastic ovaries, they become normal. Then adhesions, okay, they are also treatable. If patient, because if in modern they will say it has to be operated and it has to be removed. But I have seen patients, when we give proper medicine, adhesions are not there. Thank you, and I'm open for the discussion.
Students, any doubt? First of all, thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
डिस्कशन चल रही है अभी. हाँ, कर दे.
Students, any doubt? Ma'am, I think topic clear है सबको.
I hope so. So I see. My motive was to just give an idea, like how to work on this female aspect and the gynecological aspect. So I hope I am able to convey what I wanted to. That it is just not the vata dosh. It is not just the ras dhatu. It is, you have to treat the patient as a whole. and Ayurveda is the best, and we can get results in most of the cases. Most of the cases.
जी मैम.
And even in patients going for IVF, I have that query also, that why IVF is not so successful, why it has only 20 to 30% success rate, right? So we have to think on those aspects also, that as you said, that Dhruvam Chaturnam, that is not healthy. So how they are going to accept the embryo, right? And we have seen the cases where the patient, before going to IVF, has done the Panchkarma and the Ayurvedic treatment. Their success rate, and after that, success rate is very high.
Yes, ma'am.
And in few patients, I have seen that if patient can wait, that if they get the Panchkarma done, if they take the proper treatment done, and they wait for 6 months to 1 year, natural conception can occur.
Yes, ma'am. ये तो है, but कुछ लोग जैसे वेट नहीं करते.
हाँ.
वो लैग कर जाता है हमारा सिस्टम.
Right. So, when we have age in the hand, then I recommend patients to just wait, because IVF is there. That is the last solution. So before that, you just go for all the options you have.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. वो थोड़ी काउंसलिंग करके थोड़ा उनको देन वो लोग थोड़ा रिलाई करते हैं, अदरवाइज नहीं.
हाँ जी.
I would like to thank you, Dr. Baljot and Dr. Pooja, for this informative session, well organized, and really looking forward to more such sessions from you, Baljot ma'am. And
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And I would like to hear the experiences of the host also, your own personal experiences, and as students. I have been through all of this. So the counseling part is definitely very, very important. How to counsel the patient, to follow the dietary regimen, to follow the do's and don'ts strictly. That is what I feel makes the key to success.
Yes.
So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
And the organizing team also for this informative webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. See, I have done recording of this session, and this Google Meet has an option that it might send recording to any one of the participants. So I will request you just check the email if any one of you have received the recording, so they can send to me. And if I have got the recording, then I will share the recording.
Thanks, ma'am. Thanks a lot on the behalf of Principal Sir, Anju ma'am, and our department.
I also thank Babe Management of Babeke College, Principal Sir, Dr. Kavita, Dr. Pooja, Dr. Anju for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.